I never imagined an ordinary evening in Cleveland could change my life forever. The streetlights had just flickered on. Cars poured past in a restless tide, horns blaring, footsteps hurrying home. This city never stops for anyone. But I stopped. I stood frozen. Right in front of me, at the base of a rusted utility pole, lay a dark shape, still and silent. At first, I thought it was a forgotten bag of trash. Then it moved. I stepped closer, and my heart sank. It was a Doberman mother. Her body trembled, matted with dust and dried blood. Her back legs, completely lifeless, dragged behind her like two heavy logs. She couldn't stand. She couldn't run. But she tried. With what little strength she had left, she pulled herself forward, shielding something tiny that shivered beneath her belly. A puppy. People passed by and saw it. Some smirked. Others muttered, "It's just a dog," and walked on. Not a single hand reached out. Not one soft look. In this city of bright lights and music, only that mother and her pup were dying quietly in the cold. I dropped to my knees. The puppy looked up at me with wet eyes and pressed its trembling head into its mother's chest. The Doberman gave a low growl, not to attack me, but to tell me, "Don't touch my baby." Her eyes, cloudy and heavy, still burned with a mother's last spark. In that moment, my heart cracked open. I heard her ragged, broken breaths. Her ribs showed through, hips jutting out, chest rising and falling in desperation. Blood glistened at the corner of her mouth. Any second, she could be gone. Memories came flooding back. I once had a dog die in my arms because I didn't reach the vet in time. I swore I would never let that happen again. And now fate had placed me here. I looked around. No one stopped. People flowed past as if those two lives didn't exist. My fists clenched, my throat closed. A question rose up inside me. If I walk away, they'll die tonight. Could I live with that kind of cowardice? I leaned in close. "Listen," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I won't hurt you. I'm here to help." I didn't know if she could understand, but something shifted. The Doberman stopped growling. She just exhaled, eyes half closing, her body still a shield over her pup, her last act of protection. I knew time was running out. I yanked off my coat and wrapped them both. The puppy squealed as I lifted them from the ground. The mother twitched, her back legs fluttering helplessly, then went limp again. I held them tight and ran for my car. My heart pounded like a drum. My head rang. "Get to the clinic. Now!" One more minute, and they're gone. When I opened the car door, the puppy burrowed into my chest, crying non-stop. In my arms, the mother's breathing came in short, breaking gasps. A faint breath. Then a long silence. Panic shot through me. "No! Don't give up! Your baby's still here," I pleaded. The streetlight spilled across her face. Her clouded eyes opened a fraction, looking straight at me. That look. It was both a plea and a trust. She wasn't asking me to save her. She was asking me to save her child. I gripped the wheel and pressed the gas. The city burned red with brake lights and horns. Traffic jammed. Inside my head, I shouted, "Don't die, please. Just hold on a little longer. Tonight, I will not let history repeat itself." My name is John Miller. I'm 46. People know me as an ordinary office worker living in Cleveland. I go to work in the morning, come home at night, circle around my small apartment, and sometimes stop by a familiar bar for a couple of beers. I'm not a hero. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not an animal rescuer. I'm just a middle-aged man who started to feel youth slipping through his fingers. But one thing has never left me. A wound that never closed. 10 years ago, I had a mixed-breed dog named Max. He wasn't just a pet. He was my running partner, my reason to step outside every morning, the one living soul waiting at the door when I came home. One afternoon, Max was hit by a car. I picked him up, his blood soaking through my shirt. I ran wildly through the streets looking for a vet, but traffic was jammed that day. By the time I arrived, Max had died in my arms. That night, I sat on my front steps holding his body until morning. I swore I would never again let a living creature die before my eyes without trying everything. But city life pulled me along, and that vow slowly got buried until today. When I saw the Doberman mother lying crumpled under a utility pole, her back legs useless, her breath in jagged fragments, the memory returned like a knife. I felt myself standing again in that old moment, only this time it wasn't Max. It was another life, waiting for someone to reach out. I looked around. This was downtown Cleveland, right by the light rail station. People walked past. Some glanced and turned away. Someone smirked. A young man even raised his phone to record, muttering something as if this were a show. The city was its usual loud, cold self, sometimes so cruel it doesn't even notice life gasping at its feet. But me, I couldn't. Not again. The sight hit me square in the heart. The mother, exhausted, trembling, her back legs dead, still pouring every shred of strength she had left into shielding her tiny pup, holding it back from the stares and the hands of strangers. A picture both tragic and sacred. I knew there wasn't only despair there. There was unconditional love, mother love. In that instant, I realized I, too, was alone. I've never married, never had children. I've passed the halfway mark of my life without knowing what it feels like to be a father. And now, looking at this Doberman mother collapsing but still watching over her pup, I felt I was witnessing something I'd never touched. The power of a mother, even when her body is finished. My fists clenched. My heart felt squeezed. I thought of Max. I thought of my promise. And I thought of myself. A man who'd lost his sense of meaning. Maybe this was my chance to make it right, to not turn away this time. When I knelt, the puppy lifted its round eyes to me, fear and pleading tangled together. I could hear its cry, thin but steady. In that moment, I knew. I wasn't just looking at a dog. I was looking at Max. I was looking at the part of my humanity I thought I'd lost. Behind me, a little boy stopped and asked his mother, "Mom, why is that dog lying like that?" She pulled him along and snapped, "Don't look. Keep walking." I watched them go, my throat tight. Children still ask questions, but adults look away. They don't want trouble. They're afraid to get involved. But I couldn't. Not this time. I drew a long breath, took off my coat, wrapped the mother and pup, and told myself, "John, this is it. This is your one chance to prove you've learned something." From that moment on, I knew I was no longer just an ordinary office worker. I had stepped into a story whose ending I could not predict. I bent down, my heart squeezed tight as I watched the Doberman mother's heavy, labored breaths. She lay pressed against the pavement, her back legs curled up and useless, her toes trembling as if trying to claw her way back to life. Yet in those cloudy eyes, something still flickered, the light of a mother willing to sacrifice herself to the very last moment. When I reached out my hand, she let out a weak growl. Not strong enough to threaten me, but strong enough to say, "I'm still here. Don't touch my baby." Her whole body shook, too exhausted to fight, yet her instinct to protect had become her final shield. I sank down, lowering my voice. "Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help. Do you hear me? I'm here to help. The tiny pup whimpered, burrowing into her belly, its whole body quivering. I could see every rib under its paper-thin skin, its eyes blazing with fear and a hunger to live. Its nose, wet and dirty, still inhaled the scent of its mother, as if that smell were the only thread tying it to this world. Inside my head, alarms rang. Every second that passed was draining the life out of them both. I had no time left to hesitate. I yanked off my coat, spread it on the ground, gently lifted the puppy onto it, then wrapped my arms around the mother's body. She was heavy, yet fragile, the smell of blood mixing with dust and wet fur. Her breath came out in shallow bursts. I could feel her heart slowing. And then it happened, the moment that stole my breath. As I picked them both up, the Doberman mother tried to turn herself, even though her back legs wouldn't move. She forced her head down and licked her pup's muzzle, a final act of care. I froze. She wasn't resisting me. She was handing her baby over, her eyes locked on mine as if to say, "If I don't make it, keep my child." I clenched my jaw, cradled them against my chest, and ran for my car. My footsteps echoed, frantic on the cement. A few people glanced back, but no one came closer. In this city, the life or death of two small creatures wasn't enough to stop anyone. But to me, it was everything. When I opened the car door and set them on the back seat, the puppy let out a piercing cry. It scrambled to climb onto its mother, pressing against her chest. The mother, eyes shut tight, only wheezed weakly. I started the engine, stomped on the gas, and shot into the clogged road. Horns blared, red lights flashed, and people jostled for lanes. But I saw nothing except those two lives behind me. In the rearview mirror, the little head kept nuzzling at its mother's chest as if trying to wake her. Each time the mother's breath broke, the pup shook harder and cried louder. I shouted into the car, "Don't give up! Do you hear me? Just a little longer. I'll get you to the vet. Don't die. Please don't die." My hands clenched the wheel, sweat pouring, my heart hammering. I wasn't a doctor. I had no medicine, no machines. All I had was my will, and the searing memory of Max. If I failed now, I would never forgive myself. I glanced at the clock. Less than 10 minutes to Carter Animal Clinic, the only place still open. 10 minutes. Too long for a body this close to the edge. A cold silence filled the car. I looked back. The Doberman mother had stopped breathing. I screamed, "No! No, you can't. Listen to me. Please don't give up." I swerved into the emergency lane, headlights blazing, horn blaring. My car tore down the road. I knew if I didn't reach that door within minutes, I'd be carrying a body, not a life. And I would not let that happen. Not again. Rush hour in Cleveland felt like a nightmare. Cars packed in from every direction, red lights flashing, horns cutting the air like knives. I pressed the gas, sliding into the emergency lane, ignoring angry stares and curses from other drivers. I didn't care anymore. Behind me, on the seat, were two lives counting down their final seconds. A weak, rattling breath sounded, then stopped. I glanced back. The Doberman mother lay still, her back legs limp. Blood seeped from her mouth, dripping onto my coat. Beside her, the puppy wailed, pressing against her chest as if trying to wake her. Each cry stabbed straight into my heart. "Hold on. Hear me. Just a little longer," I muttered, my hands clamped on the wheel. I slammed the horn, trying to clear a path. A truck driver shouted from his window. "Are you crazy?" I yelled back. "It's an emergency!" "Please move." Some people gave way, some didn't. The line of cars crawled forward, inch by inch. I stared at the clock, watching the second hand mock me. Despair rose up. Was I carrying them, only to let them die on the road? then I thought of Max. I saw that moment 10 years ago when his last breath slipped away in my arms because I'd arrived a few minutes too late. The image slapped me across the face. I shouted inside the car, not at anyone but at myself. Not again! I will not lose them. I swerved into a narrow side street, a shortcut I remembered from my old commute. The road was rough but empty. I floored the gas. The car jolted hard, throwing the puppy off the seat. I hit the brakes, reached back and scooped it up, pressing it against its mother's chest. In that instant, something strange happened. The Doberman mother stirred. Her breathing still weak, she turned her head just enough to touch her pup, as if to reassure it. A hoarse breath escaped, like a whisper. I'm still here. My throat closed, tears spilling. Only 3 blocks left to Carter Animal Clinic. But then the light turned red. A wall of cars blocked the way. I pounded the steering wheel. The puppy cried again, urgent, its eyes blazing in the mirror, pleading. I had no choice. I hit the hazards, swung across the median, and shot into oncoming traffic. Horns shrieked, headlights flared like blades slashing toward me. I gritted my teeth, knuckles white on the wheel, heart pounding. Every risk was a wager for 2 fragile lives. At last, the green sign of Carter Animal Clinic came into view. I slammed the brakes at the entrance and leapt out, both animals in my arms, shouting, "Help me! Please, somebody help!" The door burst open. Dr. Susan Carter, silver hair, sharp eyes softened by warmth, rushed out with 2 nurses. She took one look and barked orders. "Quickly, get them into the ER." I ran after them, my heart hammering. The puppy sobbed against its mother. Dr. Carter bent down, stethoscope pressed to the Doberman's chest, her face grave. Weak heart, fluid in the lungs, severe blood loss. A few minutes later, and there'd be no chance I stood frozen. All my reckless driving had only just brought them here in time. Dr. Carter looked up, meeting my eyes. "You did the right thing. Now, let us take over." The ER door swung shut in front of me. I stood there, my hands still sticky with blood, my breath ragged. For the first time in years, I felt I had stepped into a battle whose outcome I couldn't see, a battle between life and death. And I knew the real test had only begun. The ER door closed, leaving me in the hallway under the harsh glow of fluorescent lights. My heart pounded wildly, my hands shook, my coat still stained with blood that hadn't dried. In my arms, the tiny puppy cried without stopping. Its claws dug into my chest, its eyes locked on that door, as if trying to pierce through to the room where its mother was fighting for every breath. I couldn't sit. I just stood there, staring at the door, listening to the rush of footsteps inside. The doctors and nurses moving fast, the monitor beeping in broken, uneven rhythms, like it was echoing my own heart. A nurse cracked the door open to grab supplies, and I caught a glimpse inside. The Doberman mother lay motionless on a steel table, wires and tubes covering her body. Dr. Carter bent low, her voice urgent. "Heart's at 30. Prepare adrenaline." I froze. 30. That number echoed in my head like a coffin nail. I turned away, eyes squeezed shut, but the sounds from inside only grew louder. Then came the long, piercing whine of a flatline. Someone shouted, "No pulse!" My chest seized. No pulse. I heard it clearly. She was gone. The puppy in my arms suddenly went silent. No more crying, just trembling, its gaze fixed on the door, as if it understood the horror unfolding. I looked down at it, and in that moment, I broke. I dropped to my knees, clutching it to my chest, sobbing like a child. "God, please don't take her. Don't leave this pup alone." And then the memory came. 10 years ago, Max fading in my arms, his last breath slipping away, his eyes accusing me with their silence. I had failed him. I had let him die. And now, I was about to let the same tragedy repeat itself. I wanted to burst through that door, to scream at the doctors, to do anything. But I was just a useless man standing outside, holding a puppy's tiny paw in my hand. Its claws dug into my skin, begging, "Save my mother." From inside came the calls. "Clear!" Shock 1. A pause. The flat line still screamed. "No response." Shock 2. The crackle of electricity. I bit down on my lip so hard I tasted blood. I held my breath. No rhythm. My heart stopped with those words. I slid to the floor, crushed under the weight of failure. The puppy wailed again in my arms, and I felt the hopelessness swallow me whole. Everything I had done, driving like a madman, risking my life, begging strangers to move, had all been just to deliver a corpse to this clinic. I was losing. Again. Then Dr. Carter's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "Shock 3! Increase voltage. Ready. Clear." A piercing jolt split the air. Both the puppy and I flinched, my eyes fixed on the door, my heart dangling on a thread. 1 second, 2, 3. "We have a rhythm! 40, 50. Heart's back!" A cheer erupted from the staff. The monitor's steady beeping filled the hall. I sat frozen, tears blurring my eyes, unable to believe it. In my arms, the puppy let out a sharp cry, then burrowed into my chest as if it understood the miracle that had just unfolded. I held it tight, tears streaming down my face. I whispered, "Your mother's back. We haven't lost yet." The door closed again. I knew the fight was far from over, but I had just seen a life claw its way back, torn from the grip of death itself. In the thick darkness of despair, a single light had flickered to life, and I swore I would not leave this place until I knew for certain that both mother and pup had survived. The steady beep of the monitor inside the ER sounded like a hymn of rescue. I sat on the floor, the puppy still in my arms, ears straining for each beat. Every beep cut into my heart, but this time not with pain, this time with hope. The door swung open. A nurse stepped out, sweat beading on his forehead. I rushed forward, my voice catching. "Is she alive?" He nodded quickly. "She's got a heartbeat again. Still weak. We're not done yet." I stood there, hands trembling. The puppy lifted its head, eyes bright as if it understood every word. It stopped crying, went completely still, staring at the closed door. It was waiting too, just like me. A thought echoed in my mind. This is only the beginning. Time stretched into forever. An hour. Nearly 2. I didn't move. I just sat there, holding the puppy, listening to the monitor's beeps drift out from inside. Sometimes it paused, and my heart stopped with it, only to start again, saving me from falling into the pit. When the door opened again, I almost sprang up on reflex. Dr. Carter stepped out, pulling off her gloves, with dark circles under her eyes but a fierce light in them. Her voice was clear and firm. "She's out of immediate danger, but recovery will be long. At least, today we've won." I exhaled so hard my legs nearly gave way. I had to grab the wall to keep from collapsing. Tears spilled down my face unchecked. In my arms, the puppy gave a small bark, like a cheer. "You can come in," the doctor said, "but keep it quiet." I carried the puppy into the room. The white light spilled over the metal table where the Doberman mother lay. Her body was wrapped in bandages, an IV in her front leg, a breathing tube in her mouth, but her eyes had opened, flickering, searching the room. I stepped closer and set the puppy beside her. The moment shattered me. The mother trembled, lifting her head just enough to brush her tongue across her pup's muzzle. The puppy squealed with joy, pressing into her chest, burrowing its little head into her tangled fur. A long, hoarse breath escaped the mother's throat, like a whisper. "I'm here." I stood frozen, tears streaming. I've seen many things in my life, but never a moment as beautiful as this. Motherhood, stronger than death. Dr. Carter stood nearby, her own eyes wet. She spoke softly, as if only for me. "We did our part." But what held her here? It wasn't medicine, and it wasn't machines. It was that little one. And it was you, because you didn't give up. I looked down. The puppy still pressed against its mother, whimpering softly. The Doberman mother glanced at me, not fierce, not angry like before, but quiet and warm, as if she knew I'd kept my promise. I sat down beside the table and whispered, "Listen, you're not beaten. Your baby's here. And I swear, I won't let it grow up alone." The Doberman blinked slowly, like a nod. Outside, Cleveland kept on being loud and cold, unaware of the miracle that had just happened in this small room. But for me, it was a moment that cracked my world open. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't feel helpless. I wasn't the man who had abandoned his companion all those years ago. This time, I had stayed until the end, and I knew this was only the beginning of a longer journey. A week later, I returned to the clinic. The hallway lights still glowed bright, but my heart felt lighter this time. When I walked in, the sight before me nearly brought me to tears. The Doberman mother was no longer lying motionless on a cold metal table. She had been moved to recovery, bathed in warm golden light. On a soft cushion, her body still wrapped in bandages, her back legs not yet moving, but her eyes were alive again, blazing with strength. Beside her, the puppy toddled around, ears perked, tail wagging furiously. No more frightened cries, only play, mischief, health. Every so often it leapt onto its mother's belly, nuzzled into her chest, then curled up to sleep. I stood frozen, tears welling. That image, a small family, motherhood reborn, was so beautiful it made the world outside feel distant, almost irrelevant. Dr. Carter entered, smiling softly. She spoke in a low voice. "We'll continue physical therapy for her back legs. She may never run again, but she will live, and she will raise her pup. Because of you, John. If you had walked away that night, both would be gone." I bowed my head, choked with emotion. "No, doctor. You're the one who worked the miracle. I only did the smallest part." I stopped. Dr. Carter laid a hand on my shoulder. "Sometimes, one person stopping is enough to change everything." I stepped closer. The Doberman mother lifted her head to look at me. No more growling, no more suspicion. Her eyes softened, as if she knew I had become part of her story. The puppy ran up, tugged gently at my pant leg, eyes bright, inviting me in. I laughed through my tears. For the first time in many years, I felt my heart heal. I was no longer just the man haunted by the memory of Max. Now I had been given a second chance, to make amends, to love, to prove that compassion can rewrite fate. I turned toward the camera, my voice lowering, as though speaking directly to the one watching. If you've ever saved a small life, you know, that feeling doesn't just save them, it saves you too. Never turn away, because sometimes your glance, your hand, is the line between life and death. If this story touched your heart, please share it. so that more people might stop, reach out, and give a second chance. The puppy barked once, as if to agree. The Doberman mother closed her eyes, breathing out in peace, her head resting gently against her pup. And I knew neither of them would ever fight alone again. Even now, I can still hear her raspy breaths from that night. I can still see her eyes opening, looking at me as if entrusting me with her whole world. And I know that moment will stay with me forever. What about you? Have you ever stopped to save a small life? Maybe a trembling kitten on the roadside, a bird with a broken wing, or even a stray dog searching for warmth? If you have, please share it in the comments. I want to hear your story, because I believe it's those moments that make this world more humane. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for walking with me, for shedding tears with me, for believing that compassion still exists. And if this story reached you, please subscribe, turn on the bell, so together we can spread more miracles. Because who knows, just one click, one share, might save another life waiting out there tonight. Thank you. Truly, thank you.